Hello! Quick disclaimer, I played this game about 5 months ago. I recorded it slightly more recently than that, though before the Hobgoblins game. So, in the recording I say this is Battle Report number 19, obviously it's Battle Report number 20, and because it was so long ago, it's with the old Vermin Swarm book. Just a quick heads up. So if you want to skip this one and go to a more up-to-date book, that's fair. Okay, on with the show. Hello, and welcome to Battle Report number 19. So, we're on to Game 2 of the Scottish Championships. I don't think I mentioned why it's called Scottish Championships number 5, because it's not the 5th Scottish Championships, I think it's about the 3rd one. But at the top of the event pack it said, we're called Scottish Championships number 5 because it's a bit of an unusual year, and if Windows and iPhones can do it, then we'll name things out of order as well. Or we'll number things out of order as well. So there you have it. That's why it's the 3rd Scottish Championships is Scottish Championships number 5. So I hope they carry on that for next year. Anyway, on to Game 2, and I've been drawn against Vermin Swarm, the classically terrible matchup for Kingdom of Equitaine. So I was thrilled to see that I was having to play against rats for this round. That said, I know my opponent, and my opponent is lovely. So I was looking forward to the game anyway. So let's take a look at the lists. So you'll know my list from my practice games and my round 1. If you haven't watched that, go and have a look. Or if not, have a pause of the video, take a look through, see what you can find, and we'll move on to the Vermin Swarm list. So, Vermin Swarm are terrible for Kingdom of Equitaine anyway, and there are particular units that are particularly bad for Kingdom of Equitaine. That being the Vermin Demon with AP 10, Plague Disciples with the Toxic Attacks and AP 10, Jezzails with their Strength 6 AP 4 accurate, very long range shooting, and Plague Catapults, area attacks of Toxic Attacks with their AP 10. And of course, this list includes all 4 of those. I'm sure there are other bits that aren't great for Kingdom of Equitaine either, but a considerable amount of this list felt tailored to kill me, which was intimidating. So, like I said, for the Vermin General, he's got a Vermin Demon. He's got a Plague Patriarch, who's a Wizard Adept of Occultism. He's wearing light armor with Putrid Protection. So plus 2 armor, and for each successful armor save made by the wearer against melee attacks, the wearer immediately inflicts... So Putrid Protection gives the wearer an additional plus 2 armor, and then for each successful armor save, I take more toxic hits. So more bad things for Kingdom of Equitaine, which is good. And then on a Plague Pendulum, which I think is also not great because that's a big blocky unit that it'll be sitting in, and it's going to be stubborn. It's going to be Stubborn Discipline 9 probably. It's stuff that I don't want to deal with. It's nothing that I want to go into. I don't want to touch it. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm going to be on the other side of the field, hoping it doesn't notice me, essentially. So that Plague Pendulum is sitting in a unit of only 23 Plague Brotherhood, but again, they're tough enough and stubborn enough that I don't want any part of that. They've got full command with Stalker's Standard, so they'll be steadfast and stubborn and ignoring dangerous terrain and all that horrible nastiness. So terrible for me. Terrible. Awful. No good. Bad. 2 units of 60 slaves with musicians. So again, steadfast for days with probably a discipline of 9. 3 lots of 10 vanguarding footpads with musicians. That's stuff I can deal with. I can fight those. Unfortunately, that's 450-ish points, 490. 2 units of 15 Plague Disciples with champions. Terrible, bad, no good, awful. Makes me a sad Wes. 2 units of 5 Gutter Blades with throwing weapons and ambush and scout. Again, units I can deal with, but only 290 points worth. 3 units of 6 Jezzails. So the strength 6 AP4 shooting with accurate. No good, terrible, bad, awful. Makes me very sad. And 2 Plague Catapults with the toxic attacks. Terrible, bad, no good. Makes me very sad. So let's take a look at the field and how we've deployed. So we were playing at Loch Ness, obviously this being the Scottish Championships. Last game was on Hadrian's Wall, this one's Loch Ness, so Nessie in the centre there. The white spot on the back of her head is the centre of the map, and that is for hold the ground. Hold the ground? Hold your ground? Hold the ground. Hold the ground. So from turn 2, within 6 inches, you're scoring that objective. So going into this game, I was very, very worried that he was just going to park his Plague Pendulum with the Plague Disciples on that and just laugh at me and watch as I can't do anything. I get shot off and he scores the secondary objective and I get wiped and have a terrible time. But thankfully, I got the side with the hill. I was able to deploy first, so I deploy quite high. And as much as that unit's going to be a difficult pain to deal with, if I can hit it with 3 Lancers at the same time, I'm still going to go through it. I'm going to be able to kill it and, you know, kill all the rats and break it, and then the game's more in my hand. So I deployed first on this side with the hill to give me rerolls to charge, and he deployed further away from me. This is a little bit into his turn 1, which is why all 3 of those footpad units are really high up. But the 2 plague catapults are at the back. You've got 3 units of 6 Jezzails with lots of fields of fire. The slaves on either flank to protect them, and the Vermin Demon backing up the Plague Pendulum in the centre, and the 2 units of 15 Plague Disciples. And then both Gutter Blades are off on the flanks doing skirmishy, sneaky stuff. So the Vermins take the first turn. And with the Vanguard and then first turn move, he chaffs up all 4 units in the centre there, just to stop me from pushing up aggressively first turn. I'm not sure that I would, but it stopped me from doing so. So I don't need to make a decision about it anymore. It's just happening. I'm sitting where I am. So post all of his moves, he's shuffled very cautiously with most of his mainline units. He's moved up a little bit with his Vermin Demon so that he's in range of the 21 inches. For his divination spells. The Plague Disciples are moving up at a rate of knots to get into my flanks and start obliterating me with the toxic attacks. A couple of them on the unit on the right have died going through the water in the centre, which is good. It's a nice map for me for sitting on the other side. I don't have to take any dangerous being cavalry. In magic, he kills 3 Knights Aspirant with an Erring Strike, and the rest is shooting damage. So I lose 7 Knights Aspirant and a Knight of the Quest. So thankfully I don't think either of the catapults hit me. In fact, one of them misfires. One of the Jezzails up in the top there has also misfired and done a wound to itself. So nothing catastrophic to just yet. I've kept the Knights Aspirant around ready for my turn 1. So going into my turn 1, I charge the Questing Knights and the Grail Knights into 2 different units of footpads. I didn't bother charging the unit on the left, as I didn't want to clear the path ready for the Plague Disciples to come through. So my thinking here was, I'll back off with the units of Knights of the Realm to make it too long a charge for them to bother making. I'll charge the Grails into the footpads there, and either the unit to the flank of my Grail Knights will pass their panic and sit where they are and stop the Plague Disciples from getting into me, or they will panic, and I think anything up to an 11 or a 12, he will flee and then sit in front of the Plague Disciples and stop me charging that way anyway. So I was fine with that. The Aspirants on the left, I didn't want to charge in. I didn't want to go through a unit just yet, so didn't bother with that. My yeomen shuffle around and get within 24 of the Gutter Blades, I think, to start putting shooting damage on them. Post magic, I managed to get Summer's Growth off on the Knights Aspirant, which was nice, so I grow myself back up to 12 guys, which is good. Gotta love regrowth mechanics. And post-combat, unsurprisingly, I obliterate both units of footpads. One of them is left with 1 guy who flees. The other unit I do a couple of wounds to. I'm not sure why I didn't just explode that unit, actually. That's very strange with my... Maybe they have parry? They don't have parry. I don't know how my Might Duke didn't just kill that unit by himself, to be honest. But either way, I did break them. They fled. A couple of them more have died in the water terrain going through there. Unfortunately, the footpads on the other side, like the treacherous vermin they are, they've failed their panic and then ran so far that they've popped through the other side of the Plague Disciples. Of course, they're fearless, they're not worried about that, and they now have quite a short, doable charge into the flank of my Grail Knights. So at this point I'm wondering, have I just given the entire game away and given the Plague Disciples a charge through my Grail Knights with my General, my Wizard, with a short overrun into my BSB, my Might Duke, and my Questing Knights? Because I can see that happening. So, Vermin Swarm turn 2. The Plague Disciples go into the flank there of my Grail Knights. The units on the left move up to block my Realm Knights from going through on this flank. The Gutter Blades move in such a way that they're chaffing up my Knights Aspirant. And I think both units of central footpads, the single one and the unit of 6, rally. The unit of 4 do as well by the looks of things, which is pain, so I'll have to deal with them later on instead. So post magic and shooting, I think one of the catapults does hit this time. The other one misfires as well, but he kills 6 Knights Aspirant this turn and another 3 Questing Knights. So I'm taking pretty heavy damage even from the long range shooting from the Vermin Swarm. So I need to get on, score the points, score the objective, and get out of here. Or, you know, I need to do something. I need to do it quickly. But also with the Plague Disciples in my flank, it might be completely out of my hands anyway. So we go through to combat. My Valour Duke automatically issues his challenge that has to be accepted, so he fights the Plague Disciple champion with his rerolls to hit. He doesn't manage to wound me with his toxic attack, and then I kill him for full overkill. His toxic attacks, because I'm resilience 4, are wounding on 5s. He doesn't manage to get all that many through, and then I roll really, really well on my saves, and I only lose 3 Grail Knights to his attacks. And then I kill enough of him to break him. So I got let off the hook a little bit there, and I've now got the fleeing unit going into my turn. I should be able to clean up on this side and make a break for the objective, score that for the end of this turn. So Equitaine turn 2, and ready for this scoring the objective for the first turn. I declare a whole load of charges. My Grail Knights go into the lone footpad, and to bring the Grails into within 6 of the centre for the objective. The Realm Knights on the far flank charge the fleeing Disciples to make them flee further. They flee to where you see them. The Aspirants charge the Gutter Blades, who flee. I then redirect into the footpads in the centre, and at the very bottom, fresh off my victory against the Plague Disciples on the far right, I think, well, whatever the Grail Knights, the Realm Knights can do. So I charge that unit into the Plague Disciples on this flank. I make all of those charges. I think they were all automatic, so I make them all in. Post moves, I also managed to catch the Plague Disciples, and that, destroying that unit, panics the footpads again, so they flee, which is nice. Post moves, I move... At this point I'm thinking I might be able to get into the flank. If I can hit the slaves on the left hand side and get through that unit, I might be able to clear up the Jezzails and get round the Plague Pendulum. So my Questing Knights come down off of the hill behind the Gutter Blades. In Magic I grow back a couple of Grail Knights just to help me weather the future shooting. I try and get either Stone Skin or Healing Waters off on my Realm Knights down at the bottom, because I do know that I'll need them versus the toxic attacks, but either one or both of them, I can't remember which ones I cast. They're all dispelled, so I don't get any combat buffs on the Realm Knights there, which probably isn't good for news for them, which is unfortunate. So post-combat, the Realm Knights on the left are wiped out by the Plague Disciples, which is a pain. Yes, there we go. That's post-combat there. So the Plague Disciple, the Knights Aspirant go through the Gutter Blade, the footpads, kill them easily. I'm far enough away from the Vermin Demon that it's a pretty easy charge for him to get into me, and I don't want to bring him too close to my lines, so I just overrun as far as I can, taking me closer to the lines. I'm happy to sacrifice that unit to stop the Vermin Demon and the Plague Pendulum from getting too close to me. Of course, the Grail Knights make short work of that one footpad, and the units on the left, the Realm Knights, they are wiped out by the footpads. They cause a panic on my Questing Knights and BSB and Might Duke, and I decide not to use either my Commanding Presence or my Rally Around the Flag. So I'm just having a Discipline 8 check. Because if I pass that, he's just going to be able to charge me in the flank with those Plague Disciples, and I'm not confident that Resilience 3 is going to stand up quite so well as the Grail Knights did, so I choose to take the Discipline on a Discipline 8 chap without Rally Around the Flag. I thankfully fail it, and then ping through my Fearless Grail Knights out to the other side of the map, far, far away from any of his shooting and his Plague Disciples, which is lucky for me. I also, at the end of turn 2, have scored the objective, so I've now got a point for Hold the Ground in my favour. Going through to round 3, the Vermin Demon backs off considerably away from all of my lines. I guess I did have a long charge on him, which I could have potentially made going into my turn. He backs up far enough that he's out of range for magic now. The Plague Pendulum charges him into my Knight's Aspirant, and the Plague Disciples are now running after all my knights into the centre. Post-magic, he gets off a whole load of buffs on the Knight's Aspirant combat there in the centre, which I was happy to go for because I don't see myself doing anything particularly meaningful there. He does wipe me out. He wipes off 3 Grail Knights in with his shooting. I think that was from Jezzail's. So he kills a couple of Grail Knights, kills a couple of Yeomen on the right-hand side there. The footpads keep on fleeing towards the top, and the Knight's Aspirant are wiped out in combat. So going to my turn 3, I rally with the... Well, first of all, the Yeomen charge into the flank of his Gutter Blades to try and get them out of the way. They're just going to be chaffing up my guys otherwise and making difficult marching more difficult. So they charge into the flank there. I rally my Questing Knights, thankfully. They turn back towards the centre, and then I back off slowly with my Grails. And I conserve the half points of the damaged Yeoman by moving down into the corner there. Post-magic and shooting. I managed to get Entwining Roots off on the Plague Disciples there in case they go for combat with my Grails again. I grow back a Grail Knight from that as well. So post-combat on my turn 3, my Yeoman thankfully makes short work of the Gutter Blades, go through them and catch them. I score the objective for a second time with my Grail Knights. I'm just about close enough, I think, there for the 6 inches. So I've scored that, now there's 2 points. So he's now too far away to get anywhere close enough and then score 2 rounds. So I'm done with the objective. I've scored some points. I just need to conserve as much as I can now, possibly. So going into Vermin turn 4, I didn't actually get any screenshots, but he's out of range for his magic. What shooting is in range doesn't hit me, and the Plague Disciples fail their charge into my Grail Knights. So my turn 4, my Questing Knights shuffle, turn around and move back towards my table at my right hand side. My Grail Knights charge into the Plague Disciples to try and grab their points before I move away. And post-combat, it looks like this. So I lost a considerable number of guys to the Plague Disciple combat there. I think with the Toxic Attacks, he just got... Well, I got slightly less lucky with my my saves this time, so... I lose a couple of guys, and now I've got few enough for him to start shooting at my characters with his shooting and magic in this turn. He's moved up already, as you can see. I'm quite light on screenshots this game, unfortunately, just because it was all happening very, very quickly. It was a very short and snappy game. He's moved up with the Plague Pendulum and the Vermin Demon to try and catch any of my points as I'm running away. And at the end of the turn, his turn 5, he's managed to wipe out my Grail Knights. He's managed to kill my Damsel. He's managed to get my Realm Knight units in the centre there down to 1 dude. And we go to Equitaine turn 5. So, just to make sure that I kept my general alive, I march him back over the hill, out of line of sight of all the magic, all the shooting, any potential charges. I was a little bit worried about him potentially marching up and getting a long charge into the rear of my questing knights. So I turn around and face back towards the centre. My single Knight of the Realm marches as far as he can in the opposite direction, and I hide all my yeomen as well. And that's it for my turn 5. I haven't got any screenshots for turn 6, because again, nothing an awful lot happens. His turn 6, he marches his Pendulum and Vermin Demon forward to try and get magic, as much magic as he can into range to try and kill that lone Realm Knight. But unfortunately, he doesn't manage to kill it, or fortunately for me, I managed to make my saves and dispel the scary spells. In my turn 6, I now had a very short charge into his Plague Pendulum with my Might Duke, my BSB, and my Questing Knights. I figured there is a chance that I go through that unit and collect about 1,000 points, but also there's just as much chance that, you know, something goes wrong and I lose a load of guys to toxic attacks or whatever. So, as much as it wasn't particularly interesting, I decided that discretion was the better part of Valour here, and I sat where I was, and that took us to the end of the game, leaving it at a 10-10 score. So I managed to score enough points and grab the secondary objective to bring it back to a draw, which I think, considering the matchup, was very, you know, that's something I could be very pleased with. Not very knightly of me to sit as far away as I can and then turn around at the first opportunity, but anything else would have just seen me ride straight into a meat grinder, I think. The closer I get to the shooting, the better it's going to get with the catapults. I'm going to get stuck on the Pendulum, I'm going to get stuck on the Slaves, and then the Vermin Demon, and the shooting can still shoot into combat, so I didn't want to get involved with any of that. So nice simple game. I'm glad I managed to restrain myself well enough to keep as many points as I did. I think maybe I could have done better with conserving my Grail Knights and my Damsel, particularly because I lost the Green Knight for not deploying them at all, with the Damsel having died. So that was a little bit daft on my end. But yeah, overall, I think I was quite pleased with this. A bit harsh on my opponent to run away like that, but in some matchups, it's just it's what you've got to do to not just get tabled, really. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.